Hello and welcome to Network with Louis. In today's video, we'll be discussing servers, enterprise servers. We'll be discussing how to configure enterprise servers in an enterprise setting. So for this topology, we'll be discussing how, and I'll be guiding you through the step-by-step process of configuring DHCP server, DNS server, web server, and email servers. And also we have the task by the left-hand side, which is to obtain dynamic IP address from the DHCP server. We are also to ping the domain name networkwithlouis.inc. Then we are also to browse networkwithlouis.inc on the PC web, and we are to send email from the laptop 0 to PC 10. So looking at this topology, we have 4 departments, all in VLAN 1, and we have a collapsed core architecture here. So we have the access layer and the distribution and the core being collapsed into one. And we also have our Cisco ASA, which is doubling as both our firewall and our gateway. So the first step to configure this topology would be to configure our switch ports. So we know the access ports will be the ports facing the endpoint. Then because all those devices are in the native VLAN 1, we would not need to configure trunking on the access layer switches. So we'll configure trunking on the distribution layer switches. So to begin, I'm going to configure switch CC1, enable, config terminal, interface range fast Ethernet 0/127, switch port mode dynamic desirable, exit. I'm going to repeat the same command for CC2, enable, config terminal, interface range fast Ethernet 0/127, switch port mode dynamic desirable, exit. Now we've configured dynamic trunking on the layer 3 switches. So to begin, I'll need to assign static IP addresses to the servers in the server farm. Then I also need to configure my gateway. So configuring the gateway, I'm going to assign a static IP address to the Cisco ASA because that is our gateway for this topology. Enable, config terminal, show run. So this interface is gigabit 1/2. So I'm going to do interface gigabit 1/2. Name if I'm going to give it gateway. Security level, I'm going to say 70. I'm going to IP address 192.168.12.1, 255.255.255.0. No shutdown. Exit. I'm going to configure this other interface, but I'm not going to assign an IP address to it. So interface gigabit 1/1. No IP. No shutdown. Exit. So I've configured my gateway. Now the next step will be to configure the servers on the server farm. Beginning with the DHCP server, I'm going to assign a static IP address. So I'm going to assign an IP address of 192.168.12.2 and a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0 because it's a /24, and a default gateway of 192.168.12.1. DNS server, my DNS is +3, as you can see here, so it would be 192.168.12.3. Okay. So let me also quickly configure static IP addressing on the rest of the servers before I proceed with the DHCP configuration. 192.168.1 2.3, 255.255.0, 192.168.12.1, 192.168.12.4, 192.168.12.1, 192.168.12.3. One nine two dot one six eight dot 12.5, 192.168.12.1, 192.168.12.3. My DNS. Okay. So having configured static IP addressing on all the servers, the next step will be to configure the DHCP server proper. So I'm going to go to services and I'm going to go to DHCP. I'm going to enable DHCP. So you would see that by default, DHCP server is disabled. It is turned off. So I'm going to turn it on and I'm going to create a DHCP pool. So in my case, I'm going to create demo. I'm going to assign the default gateway IP address 192.168.12.1, the DNS server IP of 192.168.12.2. Sorry, .3. This is my DNS here, so .3. Then I want it to start from .6. I'm going to click add. I'm going to save. So I've saved this, and that's all that is needed to create DHCP server. So let's test. The first task says obtain a dynamic IP address from the DHCP server. So let's perform with first task. As you can see, we've obtained an IP address from within the server range 192.168.12.6. So I'm going to quickly obtain IP address for the rest of the pieces. Perfect. So we've obtained dynamic IP addresses from the DHCP server. So the next will be to configure our DNS. So I'm going to launch the DNS browser. The DNS server, and I'm going to go to services. Then I'll turn on DNS. So you will see that DNS is off by default. I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to create an E record. So my DNS is NetworkwithLouis. Network with Louis.inc. I'm going to assign it the DNS IP address, which is 192.168.1.2.3, 192.168.12.3. I'm going to add, and I'm going to save. So I've configured my DNS server. The next is to test my DNS if my DNS is working properly. So from PC10, go to my command prompt. I'm going to ping 192. So first, let me determine my IP address, IP config. So this is my PC's IP address, 192.168.12.6. I'm going to ping 192.168.12.3, which is the DNS server here. And I'm also going to ping network with Louis.inc. And you can see It's pinging successfully. My DNS is working perfectly. Right? So the next step or the next thing to configure will be to configure the web server. So I'm going to configure the web server. So I'm going to turn on services. I'm going to go to HTTP, and you will see that by default HTTP and HTTPS are turned on. So I'm going to edit one of the files in here. I'm going to edit the index.html file. So if I click on it, edit, this is the pre-configured script that came with Packet Tracer. So I'm going to erase all of this. I'm going to take it off, and I'm going to write my own script. So already before now, I already did a little bit of HTML scripts. So I wrote this, and this is just basic. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to paste it here. And I'm going to save. Now it will prompt me to overwrite. Yes. And that's basically it. So I've configured HTTP service. Now let's confirm that our web browser that our web service is up and running. So I'm going to input the IP address of the web browser, 192.168.1.2.4. Let me be sure. .4. Yeah. See, it says home of IT learning, your trusted partner in your IT journey. And that's exactly what I did here. Exactly what I did. So this is the title, this is the body. Now, let me test this from the PC. Already, we've done the first part, which is to obtain IP address. We've done the second part, which is to ping the domain name, networkwithlouis.inc, which I did. Now it is to browse networkwithlouis.inc on PC web. So I'm going to go to PC10, and I'm going to go to the web browser. And I'll try to access our web browser from our web server from my web browser. So I'm going to key in the IP address 192.168.12.4. And you can see, even for my PC, my web browser, I can reach my web server. It has resolved the IP to the domain name, and you can see everything is working fine. So finally, the last step would be to create email. So I'm going to go to the email server. I'm going to go to the email service and say that the two email services, the SMTP service and the pure 3 service, are turned on by default. So I'm going to input my domain name, which is networkwithlouis.inc. I'm going to create 2 users. I'm going to create user Louis. I'm going to create a password as Louis, 000. I'm going to add. Also going to create Sean. I'm going to create password as Sean, 000. I'm also going to add. I'm going to click set. Right. So we've created the domain name, networkwithlouis.inc, and we've added 2 users. So to test the connectivity from our PC to this email server, I'm going to go grab PC10. I'm going to launch the email client on PC10. I'm going to configure the email client. So name it Louis. Email address is louis@networkwithlouis.inc. And I'm going to assign the incoming email server, which will be the IP address of the email server. So this will be 192.168.12.5. Same 192.168.12.5. Name is Louis, and the password is Louis 000. We're going to click save. Okay, so let's compose the mail. I'm going to send it to Sean at Louis at networkwithlouis.inc, and the subject of the mail will be demo tests. I'm going to say, dear Sean, trust this mail fine tuner. Please be informed that this is a demo test. Louis. Okay, so I'm going to send this. I click send. It told me send email to Sean.Louis, Sean at networkwithlouis.inc, and it told me send success. So we're going to go to laptop 0 to confirm if we can receive that mail. So I also launch the email client on laptop 0. I'm going to set it up using the credentials Sean, email address Sean at networkwithlouis.inc. The emails, the incoming mail server will be the IP address of our mail server. Which is 192.168.12.5. Same as the outgoing, 192.168.12.5. Then the username, Sean, password, Sean 00000. Save. So to receive our mail, I'm going to click on receive here, and we see we received the mail. So it told us the email came from Louis at networkwithlouis.inc, and the subject of the mail was a demo test, and it was received on this date. So if we click on the mail to see the content, this is the content of the mail. So that's pretty much all we have, and completed all that is necessary. So these are the basic steps on how to create and configure servers on an enterprise setting. So thank you so much for staying tuned, and stay connected for more videos.